Mince Pies and Melodies, a Christmas baking conversation with music, hosted by St. George's International School of Luxembourg. Featuring Luxembourg's own Anne Faber of Anne's Kitchen, who can be found online and on TV at RTL, speaking about her Baking with Anne baking book. Also with Winnie Li of O Cakes, the viral internet sensation with nearly 2 million followers on her social media platforms, and her excellent baking book, Bake with Winnie. And our very special guest, Jürgen Krauss, the Great British Bake Off semi-finalist of 2021 and author of the German Christmas Cookbook. We were also delighted to feature Jürgen in our early music ensemble Quatricinia and their performance of some Christmas carols on original instruments.
Could you, all three of you, tell me a little bit about like what sparked your idea of making? I mean, Anne, you've had so many cookbooks out, and the baking book is the most recent one. So, for example, what made you decide to do a baking book this time?
I've had 5 cookbooks out before that, and I remember that nearly at all book signing, there was at least one person who would come over and ask, when are you going to do a baking book? So I kind of figured like supply and demand, or demand and supply, why not give them what they want? And I really thought about making a book that's kind of seasonal baking. So I really think that in Luxembourg, we have very many seasonal ingredients and seasonal bakes, like from the rhubarb tart in the springtime to the Boxer Mansion now. It's really nice to kind of honor those traditions and to go with the seasons. And that also made for some really beautiful pictures, because we went around the country like during different seasons. I've got the beautiful magnolia tree on the cover, and that was actually what sparked this book, was really to make a legacy about like kind of seasonal baking in Luxembourg and inspired from around the world as well.
That's really lovely. And would you say there's any bakes in there that are specific to Christmas then as well?
Yeah, of course, there's a whole Christmas chapter in it.
Excellent.
That chapter, but there's also a Christmas chapter. In the Christmas chapter, you find the Boxer Mansion, which of course is like the little man. We all know it. You get it in bakeries at the moment. But I also have like the mulled wine crumble in it, so it's not all just like cross-cultural. Always. I mean, I have lived in the UK for a long time. For me, anything is always like I'm like a magpie, and I guess you as well. Like you pick up wherever you go inspiration.
That's really lovely. And actually, I'm going to actually just go quickly over to Jürgen, only because you mentioned your mulled wine crumble, and I know that one of your bakes that's very popular at the moment from your new book is your mulled wine cake. So you've also just come out with this baking book. And so would you say it's similar reasons why you brought out, and specifically Christmas baking as well?
Well, my route into food writing is quite different. First was this TV show, and I never thought I would get far in it. And I had no idea what could come out of it. So getting into the semi-final quite controversially. I had to find an agent, and the agent said to me, you have to keep your face out. And what you need to do to keep your face out is writing books. So we developed an idea. My idea, she said, wouldn't sell. Her idea, the publisher said wouldn't sell, and we followed the publisher's ideas. And that then turned into my first book, the German Baking Book, which is essentially a book about what I loved to eat as a child, what I loved too much as a child. It has bakes from our kitchen. It also has traditional bakes you would buy in bakeries. And then publishers were so happy with it that they said, would you like another one? and proposed the Christmas theme. Again, the Christmas theme relates back to my Black Forest childhood. So it's very seasonal, it's very German, and one idea that was very clear from me, I was lucky that the publishers didn't really impose strong editorial ideas on me, just Christmas and German. That was fine. So living in the UK, I know how different these traditions are and the expectations on bakes, particularly biscuits. If you come from England, you think Christmas, you think cakes. If you live in Germany and you think Christmas, it's biscuits. So it's a completely different world. In England, when you think biscuit, it's something you get out of a packet or you bake and then you eat it right away. Otherwise, one day later, it's stale, it's soft. Can't eat that anymore. No. In Germany, we start baking for Christmas in November, probably like you in Luxembourg. And they stay in a tin, they get eaten through Advent. But the big time to get these biscuits out is for presents and on tables, on colorful plates for Christmas days and after. So they're made to stay, and that's a very different concept from the typical UK baker. So it was my aim in this book to educate, essentially. And the other things like the mulled wine cake or my orange Yule log, they are genuine inventions to marry some kind of German traditions with UK expectations. And I think they are actually very delicious. Worth a try.
Oh, that's really lovely. And I guess actually, Winnie, in some ways that leads me back to, because when we met last, we were filming together for another video, and you were talking a lot then about how your bakes are actually quite traditional UK bakes, but you're really making all these lovely twists on them. And so would you say your cookbook is following that path?
Actually, it's not quite how I planned it to be, because at first I was going to do like something that was more classic and British things with a twist. But in the end, I just realized that my barrel hits, that's what everybody wanted in the end, because they're like getting 60 million views, quite a lot of them, so yeah, and over. So, and I didn't actually think at first people wanted those types of recipes. But in the end, I think I had so many messages in my inbox, and they all wanted, the recipe. So, and I couldn't keep up putting them up on my code in my blog.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, why not? And then I so happened to have it's a different type of publisher where they actually print on demand. So they just kind of they contacted me and said, would I be interested in such a way of publishing? Because before that, I was contacted with other publishers, in the UK, but because I'm based here, it was quite hard to actually get a book deal. So I sort of gave up on the idea and I parked it, and all of a sudden, then this kind of new way of publishing came about, and I thought, oh, why not? I will try this, because I'm based here. I couldn't quite get I didn't have the right demographics, so it was just a really nice way. And I just spent the summer, and I thought, what? They said you can do anything you want. I didn't have to redo any of my recipes. I basically had them all. But so that was really how this book came about. It's all my barrel hits.
Oh, that's great. Perfect. And would you say, so in some ways, it sounds like your book was not the most difficult thing in the end. I mean, I remember actually we spoke just as you've been speaking to your first publishing offer, and you were kind of going, oh, it's been quite tricky to get this organized. And then I didn't hear anything for a long time. And then when we spoke, you're like, oh no, I've got a book coming out. And so you went completely another route. Do you think that this was an easier route than trying to work with a traditional publisher?
I guess I had everything I did myself. I did the photographs for myself. The rest, I didn't have anyone to proofread for me. So I basically did the whole structure, from start to finish myself. So I didn't really have anyone, to tell me what I had to do. So I had a real a lot of freedom on that book. So I think it was quite a nice book. So I learned how to do it. And I think for my next book, I definitely will be a lot more organized, because I realized that, even though I had lots of recipes, my recipes were all messy and quick, only I would understand it. So I think I spent a lot of time just trying to work out how I would actually write it up so that, people, the baker would actually understand it. And that's already quite difficult, especially the metrics and the cup measurements, and converting all that, I find that like a real nightmare.
Absolutely. Do you have both? Because I know you have a huge following in the US. So do you do both metric and cups? Okay.
The major problems I have, because I always work in metric grams.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easier for me, but and sometimes it's more precise. But I think they're always asking for cup measurements, online. They're messaging, what's the cup measurement? I'm just so not used to it. So I just spend a lot of time reworking some of the recipes and just testing them that they work. Once I converted everything. So it's just not as precise. The cups, people's cups, it's like a manly cup. It's not.
Yeah. Totally. Absolutely.
That you're expecting, so everything is quite differently.
Definitely. Absolutely. Did you find the same? Because I know your book has been published in the US as well. Did you have to go through the same process?
Because the book in the US is published by a US publisher, they took care of that.
Okay.
But I have to say, in the first edition of the first book, there were lots of typos, conversion errors. So funny enough, I got feedback for the British edition, different typos than were in the US edition. So it wasn't just copy and paste, there was some intelligence in between.
Oh my goodness. And I think for Anne, I think what's really interesting is because you always publish in multiple languages. Do you publish metric and cups as well? No.
I actually don't.
Yeah.
I am a metric person.
Yeah.
I actually, just for my little Taste of Luxembourg book, which I sell a lot to tourists as well, I put cups in because I thought it could travel to the US, but that was before ChatGPT existed, and I really had a headache, and I think now it would be more easy, but I still don't trust that machine either. I think it would come out strangely. But so I am self-publishing now. So with the first 3 books, I had a publisher in Luxembourg. And then I kind of, did the math and everything and realized, since I'm doing everything already, like the photos, the writing, I was sitting there with their graphic designer days on end. The only thing I didn't do is print it and stock it. So I thought, I just might as well invest in myself and front all the money and print it myself and ask my parents kindly to use their basement to stock all the books because there's so many. It's just that's one thing, that logistics is the thing that you don't think about when you kind of start self-publishing, my gosh. So I always publish in German and in English because in Luxembourg, of course, people are feeling very close to Germanic. Like cookbooks, I would say. So it's very rare for us in Luxembourg to read any instructions or recipes in our own language, in Luxembourgish. So often when people ask me, why are you not publishing it in Luxembourgish? I go like, have you ever read a Luxembourgish instruction? They go like, actually, no. And then I say, it's funny, if you will probably be very confused because our language is quite... Let's say it like that. For cooking and baking, there is a bit of precision that's missing in terms of the words. No, because we don't actually have certain words. And then you just borrow them from another language. And I bet you that spellchecker.lu will not know those words. So whatever we'll put out there, it will probably not be correct. But who knows, maybe in the future. But I'm doing it in German and in English. And in English, I print much less because, of course, I have a bit less traction in Luxembourg with the English language. But it's so true, dear to me that it needs to be in English because, first of all, I lived and worked in England for 12 years. I learned all about food writing in English whilst working for Time Out magazine in London. And I started my blog in English. And foremost, in Luxembourg, if you want to reach most of the population these days, you better speak English or write in English because it is such a fragmented language situation, as we all know, that for me, it has to be in English. I write the books in English and then I translate them into German. So just so you know, if you get the English version, it sounds like me. The German version is always a bit of a Germanified. It's a different Anne. It's Anne.
Oh, that's really lovely. It's funny because my next question was something else, but I think that leads so quickly into what I was actually one of my other questions. I think I need to go there, which is because you are also very culturally mixed. Are there, you've already talked about your mulled wine cake and your mulled wine crumble and all these different things, but would you say, not necessarily about Christmas, but are there certain things that you've really adopted into your for both of you, into your cooking that are very from the UK that you make regularly and you really feel like it's something you love to have at home as well? And I have another question for you in just a minute. So, would you like to answer that first, Jürgen?
I'm sure there are things I wouldn't exactly know what, but there are periods where my family likes to eat one thing and then likes to eat another thing. We go through periods of having porridge for breakfast, which certainly is English. I've got recipes in my book that are anglicized in a different way. I've got these beef roulade and thought of the famous English roast, which you have with cranberry sauce. So I'm proposing to make beef roulades with cranberries and walnuts, and it works extremely well.
Wow, that sounds delicious, actually. I think I might have to ask you for that recipe later.
That one too.
Yeah.
It's in my book.
Excellent. And Anne, same for you. Like, is there stuff that you, I mean, I often come to your house and like, I mean, you often cook things, but is there certain things that you're like, this absolutely, I have so regularly?
I eat, I think my food habits are like one day I eat Japanese, next day I eat English, then I eat like something Luxembourgish. It's just all over the place. I call me maybe food schizophrenic, I don't know. But I love it because I think I am such an internationally minded person. I travel so much that you as well, you are actually the same. I mean, at Heather's place, she cooks even more diverse than me. So I don't think there's anything that I really need, but I have to say around Christmas, I always like to have at least one mince pie around Christmas, and I need to have Stollen as well for Christmas always. That's very German, but also in Luxembourg we have it. So I think you just adapt to all these things. I mean,
absolutely. Yeah, that's great. And for you, Winnie, what about you? Because I mean, obviously, like the things that I've looked at more recently that I've really been loving, it's like your scones. Oh, those if you haven't seen her scones, they're painted. They're the most adorable, gorgeous things you've ever seen. Like, and you do so many things like that are so, for me, very traditionally British. But do you sometimes find like, because your family is maybe I'm not sure how many generations back, but they came from China, if I'm right. And so like, and I think we've talked a few times just about some of the weird fermentations that I do at home and stuff, because I pick it up from my mother-in-law who's here. If you want to ask about fermentation, she's the person to ask. But do you still do you have stuff in your family that is kind of mixed as well, or have you gone down a very traditional British route at this point?
I think I was born in the UK, and so I personally find myself like what I do and what I cook and what I eat is generally very British. So I'm quite Western in that sense. And because I don't know if you've heard the term, I'm like a banana. So a banana, if you understand what that means. So yes. I'm yellow on the outside, but I'm so white in the inside. So it's really bad. So, I'm not a really good example. I don't really cook. I can speak my own language, but I can't cook any of it.
Okay, interesting.
So but in terms of like Christmas baking and things like that, I'm married to an Italian, so I have a lot of we cook a lot of Italian food in our home, and I bake a lot of it. I've got lots of our recipes as well. So that's
fabulous.
Nice kind of mix for my kids. So even though I don't do Chinese, but we go home to eat that when we eat Chinese food.
Yes. So your mom makes it or whatever, but like for yourself, that's so fascinating. So do you make a lot of these traditions? Do you make panettone and all these things as well?
Yeah, I've tried a couple of times. Yes. And it's
challenging, no?
Challenging, but I would not repeat it again.
Okay.
I thought one time I did it, and I don't know how many kilos of flour I went through, and just takes such a long process, And but my sister is now on the case of making panettone as well. So she's much better at bread baking than I am. So I will get some tips off her. But it's such a long process, and I'm so time poor. I've got 2 kids. It's quite difficult.
Yes.
Bread making is just like another level.
Yes.
I think I'll stick to cakes and cookies.
Oh, that's so great, though. And so, what would you say, like Christmas growing up for you? What would that have looked like?
It's strange because Christmas for us is not the biggest thing. Obviously, growing up, because obviously we're Chinese and baking and everything is not. It's not something that we do traditionally. But what I remember most is, I don't know if anyone knows M&S. We usually would just go in there, Marks and Spencer's, and we would go there on Christmas Eve, and we'd go there and we would just do a big massive shop, and we'd buy everything there. And this is back in the 80s, where microwave food and all the really bad stuff. We just go and buy. We did, so, and plus my parents owned a Chinese takeaway. So the last thing they wanted to do was cook, like the traditional families, cook a big massive like roast dinner and everything. But instead, our tradition was to go to Marks and Spencer, the local superstore, to go and buy all our. Because for me, I find the M&S, growing up, that's one of my favorite places to buy food. I know there's Waitrose, that might be close, but I've always Marks and Spencer is my favorite now because it's.
Yeah, for my time when I used to live in Glasgow, it was always Waitrose and M&S as well. Yeah, exactly.
You had the expensive habits. Oh, you were the student.
No, at that point we weren't students anymore. Yeah. Yeah. And how about you, Anne? Like, what for Christmas for what? I think my real Christmas question was like strong childhood memories, like for you growing up here, because growing up you were in the 80s or so. Like, I'm just making sure I'm like thinking like I'm right the decade, but it was quite different place actually. Luxembourg back then, wasn't it?
Very much not as international as it is now. More like I think the biggest expat community would have been French, like the cross-border workers, and the Portuguese as well. But anyway, I grew up in a very Luxembourgish family. I'm actually fully Luxembourgish down to, I think, the 17th century or something. We had records. It's absolutely insane. I'm one of those, so you can touch me later. I don't know how. So it's really funny that I am really very internationally minded and everything. So, but we grew up in Luxembourg, we don't really have a proper Christmas tradition, as you might have all noticed. There is not like a turkey or like a roast or something special. So people always ask me, so what do you eat for Christmas in Luxembourg? And I think for us, the one thing that always had to be was the bûche de Noël as a dessert, the Yule log. So my grandmother, she would every year order a massive Yule log from Namur. So that was really the tradition. And I think it's the buttercream one, so it's really like very heavy. But then us kids, we didn't really like buttercream that much. So when we got a bit older, it changed to a chestnut one. That was really nice. There was also a bit of rum in it. And that's the memory I had. And it's funny because I actually am at the moment doing a bit of a behind the scenes Instagram series where I go to Namur and I see how things are made. And I got to see now how the log is made. And it really doesn't look like I remember it. It's completely different. It also is smaller now, but my mom explained to me today that my grandmother always ordered the extra large one because we were always like 15, 16 people at the table. So that is my childhood memory.
Oh, that's very sweet, though. I really like that. And how about you, Jürgen, for you in the Black Forest?
Well, I was an altar boy. Before I became altar boy, Christmas baking happened during Advent. We lived in a fairly small apartment. My mother stopped working when my brother and I came along, so we were always around her when she was cooking. She didn't mind us getting our hands dirty either. And quite early memories are about Christmas baking in that small kitchen. We had a table that folded onto itself so that you could actually get around it and sit down, and then you would unfold it again. That was the table where we made all the biscuits on, and Linzertorte. Linzertorte in our family was a very strong Christmas tradition. We had it throughout the year, but there was no Christmas without Linzer. We would make that as well around this time, so 1st of December, and store it. And after 2-3 weeks, the finer flavors of kirsch, which was the indispensable ingredient, started to come out. So one day we made Linzertorte and I poured the kirsch into the flour and nuts, and it went right through this crack in the middle of the table onto the floor. But
oh dear, that's a great story.
That's my Christmas memories.
The dog.
Yeah, the most delicious.
Would have been drunk though.
Oh, that's great. And so these days, do you still make Linzertorte at home, or is there something else that you have to have like for Christmas these
Shall
days?
I say it again? It's in my book.
Okay.
Yes, we make Linzertorte.
Yeah, excellent. And how about you, Winnie? Is there something that these days you make? I mean, you were saying you were more influenced by this Italian traditions, or have you adopted something from the UK that you really feel like, oh, I need to have this for?
To be honest, I mean, at the moment I'm busy making my
Yes.
my cookie Christmas cookie box. That's one of my favorite time of year. What I start to do. Sorry, I've got this way too. Hear me? No, I'm starting to do my Christmas cookie box, and I've been doing them for many years. I started them in London, and
Oh, sweet.
to my colleagues and everything. So now I'm here, and I'm doing baking full time now. So I have a lot more time to think planning what to bake and everything. But what I brought back from the UK to here is a lot of the tray bakes.
Yes.
It's the Northern Irish thing. I don't know whether you've heard, what a tray bake is, but it's something that's either not baked, but it's actually it doesn't have to be baked in a tray, but it's usually either baked, like things like brownies or like caramel squares or 15s, which I've actually bought tonight for you guys to try. And and they are like digestives, condensed milk. It sounds really disgusting. Butter, marshmallow, and cherry glacé, but they're really tasty. And I've managed to convert quite a lot of people in Luxembourg, all my friends, to actually enjoy and make them themselves here. So it sounds not the most pleasant ingredients altogether, but they're actually really tasty, rolled into a log. So kind of like Irish salami or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound very effective, but yeah. So that's I'm kind of making a lot of these kind of things, like the British things that I miss, like jam tarts or these kind of things that makes me miss home. So I bake them here because here I find it's quite hard to to get that type of go out for an afternoon tea and have your scones.
Yeah.
And, that I find that whereas you can just go to London or go to various places, so it's a lot harder here. It's not.
Yeah, there's not as many places. Although I think that the home from home is like, and they have a lovely British tea house. So it's very recommended for anybody who hasn't been. So definitely can recommend that. So and how about you, Anne? Is there something that you still do every year that's like really traditional? I mean, I know the box mention, I saw you had made those on your Instagram just the other day.
I mean, my schedule, the thing is, like, since I'm working full time as Anne's Kitchen, I'm basically like, my whole life revolves around like, what is the next thing that I need to film or I need to produce. So my dream would be also to just sit there and like bake just for fun, but it actually is work. So I am doing the box mention again this year, but this time I'm at the moment doing a series on RTL Today called Tastes of Luxembourg, where I'm baking and where I'm actually cooking the traditional Luxembourgish dishes in English. On RTL Today, so on the website you can watch them, because I really wanted to kind of convey the Luxembourgish traditions. And this month it's the Boxer Mansion, so I made a classic Boxer Mansion. But I also recently, last year in my book, I actually made the Contessa Lebkuchen. I don't know if you know those. Those are those balls, and oh my God, they're so good. These iced round little Lebkuchen. And I kind of hacked it, and my recipe is 10 times better than that one. So my sister expects them for Christmas. So that's something I will definitely be making.
Okay, wait, maybe I can I'll make you a little trade there, something. And it's like, we're usually.
I brought, so we all brought cookies, of course, that you could taste some. So I just brought teeny tiny speculatius cookies for you to try, and they melt in your mouth. And I also brought a savory cracker, which is my favorite seeded crackers, which are fantastic for appetizers, and they would actually be really nice as well with like Christmas cheeses or foie gras or something.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, that sounds excellent. I guess the next question I was thinking about was for Jürgen. So you've shared a lot of German, obviously, bakes and Christmas flavors around. But is there something like lesser known that you think we should really get to know, that maybe not everybody, especially maybe something very regional, something like that you think, oh, this is really special, and you should all buy my book so you can find out how to make it?
Yeah, certainly. There is this biscuit no English person can pronounce. It's called Springerle. I have to be careful with the microphone, that might pop. Springerle. And the process is quite strange, involved. You have to beat egg and sugar for half an hour with electric mixer, maybe for 1.5 hours in old cookbooks by hand. You couldn't bake anything else with it. If you make a Victoria sponge or something with that, it would taste awful, just tasteless. And then once it's beaten for that long, you fold in flour and a bit of lemon zest, and then it rests a little bit. Then you roll it out, and you have little molds which you push into the dough. You cut it into squares. You let it dry out overnight, and the idea of the long whisking of the egg is that during that drying out, the egg white and the egg yolk separate slightly, so the egg white rises up and makes sure your picture on the top is nice and white, and the yolk goes down and keeps it more elastic. The rising agent is baking ammonia, which only disintegrates when you put heat to it, so it keeps its rising potency. I forgot to mention, you put them onto aniseeds. Once you cut out your biscuits, you put them onto aniseeds on the baking tray. So once they've dried out or overnight or even longer, you bake them at fairly low temperature, and they rise up, get these feet, Stullen in German, which is a sign of a good housewife or house husband or whatever you want to call that, house person. And then you wouldn't touch them for 3 weeks and enjoy them with maybe a good sweet wine or tea or coffee. And they have a very unique texture. So all the English home economists from different shows I was recently, they were all really surprised about it. So, yeah.
Fascinating. That sounds like a fascinating bake. Okay, I'll definitely have to look at
I've
that.
never eaten that either.
No.
But I've seen it in cookbooks. I didn't realize it would be such an amazing process.
Yeah, the funny thing with that as well is if you research recipes, of course, you frequent all sorts of websites. You see what others have been doing. With this recipe, the ratio of all the ingredients is constant across all recipe books. It differs very slightly in the length of beating your egg, or in the length of resting, or whether you put the seeds in while you fold in the flour, or whether you put the biscuits onto the seeds. But otherwise, the ratio of egg to flour to sugar is the same everywhere. You rarely get that with recipes.
Why do you think you beat it that long? Is it to dissolve the sugar?
No, I think it is to give the eggs this consistency that makes it possible to separate the phases overnight.
You think 1 hour? Well, we should do a test if like half an hour. I mean, I'm always for shortcuts.
I know that my mother never was patient enough. There is a similar kind of biscuit in my book, which is called aniseed biscuits. And the difference between those biscuits and the Springerle is that they use half the amount of flour. Otherwise, it's precisely the same technique without molds. Resting overnight, baking ammonia, and they rise up and have to have these feet. I know my mother is not as patient as me, and she might have used the wrong raising agent, and they never worked.
That's very, very interesting. Does she know that you like always have this? So I have another question for Winnie, which is a little bit different, which I just was curious about. Can you, because not everybody here knows your style of baking. Is there something like one of your bakes that you particularly think captures, this sort of British heritage with but you have like this artistic sense. I mean, Winnie was an amazing, you were a fashion designer in London, weren't you? And so she has this amazing style and sense of style in her bakes. So is there something that you think really has that can sort of, that combines that, your sort of British roots with this sort of modern flair?
I guess, like you said, you mentioned earlier about the scones, or just really traditional bakes. And I took the Battenberg cake, traditional shepherd cake, and I wrapped it with patterned marzipan in polka dots or hearts. I love things with color and pattern. So maybe I add some paint. I paint myself. I decorate it. So I do OTT decoration on it. That's kind of my style. Or make it cute. I would sort of make it. That's kind of like my twist. Either make it cute or make it really beautiful by adding, by adding extras in it. So it starts off with quite a classic, simple bake, but I kind of you
up it. Yeah. Is there a favorite one that you've had recently that you were like, oh, this really made me feel very satisfied with what I've done?
I guess I love the upside down method, because I see that now it's I may not have invented it, but I think what I do is that I take a concept or a hack, and I kind of make it viral, and then I see, you know, everyone doing it, so that's quite satisfying.
Yeah.
You know, not do even like.
So this upside down is like when you bake the.
So, you know, traditionally, if you have like, you know, the muffin tin or the
Yeah.
tart tin or a cupcake tin, you know, normally you just like try to push all the pastry in the little the holes. But that's a right nightmare, and you never can get in the same shape or make them very impossible. So this hack is like to turn the pan upside down, and then you place the pastry on top, the discs, and literally they bake and they just fall into shape and then when it's baked, you know, 10 minutes, you turn
Just
them
pop
up,
them off.
and then you pop them out, and they're like the perfect rounds, perfect shape.
Yeah, and I saw you brought some tonight, didn't you?
Tonight as well, to show it works.
Yeah, because those are fantastic, actually.
So
Yeah.
it's like a tried and tested method, and I love it. It's probably the only.
Yeah, and they fill really easily, don't they? They're just like super.
And then they keep really crisp, and you can store them, you know, and when you're ready to fill them up, that was whatever fill you want, and then, you know.
Oh, yeah. You can freeze them as well, or yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's really good.
That was good. Sorry, now I'm just asking for advice. Like, sorry, guys. Just excuse me while I get some like. So, and for Anne, it's like, well, you and I have we've actually been very fun travel companions. We've had some trips. So, I was thinking about. Is there something on your travels actually that you've come across that you've thought, oh, that's fascinating? I mean, maybe for holidays, but also could be something else that you're like, oh, I mean, I know like you are a magpie, but like, but is there something that you just like comes to you and you're like, oh, that was something I'd never thought of and I just had to?
Well, I have to say, I'm still dreaming of a slice of American apple pie that I had in Boston just after the pandemic. I visited my sister, and there was this bakery called Tati Bakery, and they had this deep dish apple pie. I'm salivating just thinking of it. It was so much apple inside, and it was so sweet and so gooey at the same time. It reminded me the inside a tiny bit of, you know, those fried McDonald's apple pie thing. Like, not that, that's not the, but the thing inside, it was so cinnamony and so gooey. So when I went back to Boston last year, when Heather took me actually to the States, I was so excited. I went to the bakery and I was like, oh, I want a slice of that apple pie. And they were like, oh, that's only in autumn. This is summer. We have something else. I was like, peach pie. I was like, no. So I'm still dreaming of it to this day, and I haven't dared to recreate it yet. But that is my little Madeleine at the moment that I dream of.
Oh, that's really lovely. But I know this bakery you sent me to it actually when I went back one year. I've been to it as well. It's fantastic. If you're ever in Boston, it's the place to go. So, and so something like that. Maybe you think in epic. Well, it was actually very funny because Jürgen went to the Christmas market today and told me, oh, it's very interesting. Luxembourg Christmas market has a lot of kitsch. And I was thinking it's quite possibly true. But on the other hand, BBC has just claimed it as being the best Christmas market in Europe. I don't know if you guys saw that, but that's just came out. So is there something, Anne, that we all have to tell the travelers, you have to go try this in the Christmas market? Is there something that Jürgen missed in among all the kitsch?
I'm really the wrong person to ask. I haven't been yet this year.
I haven't been
It
either.
always changes. And I mean, I have to say, I don't know how you remember the Christmas markets, but they weren't as elaborate and as many as in the last few years. I mean, it's really gone crazy overboard.
Yeah.
So back in the day, it was just like literally on the Place d'Armes, and there was the typical Cookbook stall with our favorite potato fritters. But now you find everything. I mean, they have the kurtos as well now, like, you know, those spit, these round cakes with a massive hole in it because they're baked around a spit. And I actually recreated that for Le Moulin this year on my Instagram, which was funny to test. The first test went right, but it was too dry. Then I thought just add a bit more yeast. And the next two tests, you have to wrap it around a baking, like a, how do you call it? A rolling pin. And they just slid off the tin. So off the pin. So every time I ended up like filming something that was like just a real mess. But the fourth time I got it right. So now I know how to make kurtos at home, but I would urge everyone not to make it at home. Actually, when you get market, it's too much of a pain. No, it actually is fine. So I think those things, and then what I as a child always dreamed of getting at the Christmas market, I never got because my parents somehow thought, no, was these hearts, the gingerbread hearts, with the or like something like nice written on it, Merry Christmas. I understand now why my parents never wanted to buy it for me, because I think they might for a kid especially be like quite hard to eat and not that exciting. But I think they are exciting. So I got a photo with them in my book, and I gave it to a kid afterwards.
Oh, sweet.
My photographer's children were eyeing the heart, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to pay it forward. Not ever had one in my life, but I at least gave a kid one.
Oh, that's really sweet.
Can I say it again? It's in my book.
Yeah.
And you can make them smaller, and they have a very interesting texture.
Again, you're the best.
Oh, that's great.
I think we would also like to know what Winnie and Jürgen brought as cookbook.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
let's say that in front of everyone
Yes.
so that it's clear.
Yes, absolutely. Good idea.
I bought 15 Irish tray bakes,
Yep.
famous one that I make, and then I bought snowflake jam tarts.
Oh, yes. They're really beautiful. I did get to see
then
those.
I made a reel today, which was like little Santa hats, which I brought along. It was like strawberry Santa hats, tarts, usually upside down.
And with the upside down filled tarts. So you'll be able to see those. And they were really sweet as well. Very good, beautiful. And then Jürgen was very kind. He baked at my house this morning. So I got to bake with him, which I was super happy about. So
Yeah, so I had this wonderful assistant, and I made cinnamon stars and Vanillekipfel or Kipfel.
So, and I didn't try the vanilla gipfel yet, but we had a little end bit that was like not quite the right shape. So we tried the cinnamon stars, and they're delicious. So,
They, of course, would be better next week.
Okay.
And so the baking conversation came to a close, and we all enjoyed a chance to try the biscuits and cookies that our three fantastic bakers prepared. Thank you to our wonderful musicians from Quatricinia, Juan Ullibari, Leon Ni, Edoya Bengoa Geisler, and Pedro Gonzalez. And of course, our special guest, Jürgen. It was marvelous to spend the time with Anne, Winnie, and Jürgen talking about their Christmas traditions in baking. Don't forget to find their books in your local bookshops or by ordering online. Thank you to the St. George's International School for the use of their auditorium, and a particular thank you to Brigitte Mickelmeyer for her assistance on the evening, and James Dyson for running our light and sound, to Peter Seifert for filming, and to Hannah Nee and Andrea Weris for the graphic design.